I'm 80 years old, and I need to tell you something that might shock you. I wasted 50 years of my life in a marriage that was slowly killing me. Not physically, though God knows the stress tried, but emotionally, spiritually, I was dying a little bit every single day. And the worst part, I knew it. I knew it at 30. I knew it at 40. I knew it at 50. But I stayed anyway.
I finally left him when I was 75 years old. 75, can you imagine? Most people thought I was crazy. After all this time, just stick it out, they told me. He'll be gone soon enough anyway. But I couldn't wait for him to die. I couldn't spend one more year living in that cold, empty house with a man who made me feel invisible. So I left. And let me tell you something that nobody wants to hear. Leaving him was the best decision I ever made. The only regret I have is that I didn't do it 30 years earlier. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met Richard when I was 19. He was 24, handsome, confident, studying to be a lawyer. I was a nursing student, shy, eager to please. He pursued me relentlessly. Flowers, letters, promises. I felt chosen, special, lucky. We married when I was 21. For the first few years, things were fine. Not great, but fine. He worked long hours. I worked at the hospital. We had a small apartment. We had friends. We laughed sometimes. I thought this was what marriage was supposed to be. Then I got pregnant with our first child. That's when everything changed. Richard became distant, critical. Nothing I did was right. The house wasn't clean enough. Dinner wasn't ready on time. I was too tired, too emotional, too much. I thought it was pregnancy hormones. I thought it would get better after the baby came. It didn't. After our son was born, Richard's criticism intensified. I wasn't losing the baby weight fast enough. I was too focused on the baby. I wasn't paying enough attention to him. The house was a mess. I was a mess. I remember standing in our kitchen one night holding our crying baby, and Richard walked in, looked around at the dishes in the sink and said, "What exactly do you do all day?" I should have left then. I was 25 years old, but I didn't. I thought, it's just stress. He's working so hard. I need to try harder, be better, do more. We had 2 more children, 3 kids in 6 years. I quit nursing to stay home full time. Richard said it made more sense financially, and I agreed. I love my children, I did, but I was drowning, exhausted, overwhelmed. And Richard, he came home, criticized whatever he could find, ate dinner, and disappeared into his study. When I tried to talk to him about how lonely I was, how hard the days were, he'd say, "Lonely? You're with the kids all day. I'm the one who's alone in an office." When I tried to tell him I needed help, he'd say, "I work 60 hours a week. What do you want from me?" What did I want? I wanted a partner. I wanted someone who saw me, who valued me, who made me feel like I mattered. But I couldn't articulate that at 30. I just knew something was deeply wrong. The years blurred together. The kids grew. Richard's career flourished. He made partner at his firm. We moved to a bigger house. From the outside, we looked perfect. The successful lawyer, the devoted wife, the beautiful children. Inside, I was withering away. He never hit me. Let me be clear about that. There was no physical abuse, but there are other ways to hurt someone, other ways to make them feel worthless. The constant criticism, the cold silences that lasted for days, the way he'd look at me like I was an inconvenience, the way he'd correct me in front of the children, the way he made every decision without consulting me. Because, as he said, I'm the one who earns the money. I tried to talk to my mother about it when I was 38. She said, "All marriages have problems. You have a good life, a beautiful home, security. What more do you want?" I tried to talk to my sister. She said, "Men are just like that. At least he doesn't cheat or drink. Count your blessings." So I did. I counted my blessings: 3 healthy children, a roof over my head, food on the table, no bruises on my body, just the invisible ones on my soul. When I was 42, I seriously considered leaving. The kids were older, more independent. I could go back to nursing. I could support myself. I lay awake at night planning it. But then our middle child, Sarah, started having problems at school. Depression, the therapist said. She needed stability. How could I uproot her life when she was struggling? So I stayed. When I was 50, I thought about it again. The kids were in college. I had more freedom. But Richard's mother got sick, and he was devastated. How could I leave him when he was dealing with that? So I stayed. When I was 55, our youngest graduated college, I had a moment of clarity. This was it. This was my chance. But then grandchildren started arriving, and I thought, they need me. My daughter needs help. I can't be selfish right now. So I stayed. When I was 60, I went through menopause. Richard treated it like a personal affront to him. My mood swings annoyed him. My hot flashes disrupted his sleep. My changing body disgusted him. He started staying later at work, coming home just to sleep. We lived like roommates, polite strangers sharing a house. I was 65 when I realized we hadn't had a real conversation in years. We talked about the grandchildren, about household maintenance, about his work, but we never talked about us. How? About feelings, about what we wanted from life, because there was no us. There never really had been. At 68, Richard retired. I thought maybe things would improve, maybe with less stress, more time, we could reconnect. Instead, it got worse. Now he was home all day, criticizing everything I did. How I loaded the dishwasher, how I folded laundry, how I spent my time. He followed me around the house, pointing out flaws, offering unsolicited advice, making me feel incompetent in my own home. I started having panic attacks. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, feeling like I couldn't breathe. My doctor prescribed medication. Richard said I was being dramatic. I was 72 when I told him I was unhappy. We were sitting at the dinner table and I just said it. Richard, I'm unhappy. I have been for a very long time. We need to talk about our marriage. He looked at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. Then he said, what are you talking about? We have a good life. You have everything you need. I don't, I said. I don't have a husband who loves me. I don't have a partner. I don't have companionship. He was silent for a long moment. Then he said, you're being ridiculous. We've been married for 50 years. This is what marriage is. And that's when I knew he wasn't going to change. He didn't want to change. He was perfectly content with this cold, empty arrangement. But I wasn't. I couldn't do it anymore. I started seeing a therapist. She asked me a question that changed everything. If you stay in this marriage, what will your life look like in 5 years, in 10 years? And I saw it clearly. More of the same, more loneliness, more criticism, more feeling invisible until one of us died. That's not how I wanted to spend whatever years I had left. I consulted a lawyer. Richard had money, but I had rights. We'd been married for over 50 years. I'd given up my career. I'd raised our children. I supported him through everything. I was entitled to half of everything we built. The lawyer assured me I'd be financially secure. I told Richard I wanted a divorce when I was 74. He laughed. Actually laughed. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Nobody leaves a marriage at your age. I am, I said. He didn't believe me. Not until the papers were served. Then he was furious. How dare I? After everything he provided, the house, the lifestyle, the security, I was ungrateful, selfish, crazy. Our children were shocked. Some of them tried to talk me out of it. Dad's not that bad, they said. You're used to each other. Think about the grandchildren. But I did think about the grandchildren. I thought about my granddaughters growing up, watching their grandmother live a half life, teaching them that women should accept crumbs and call it a feast. I thought about my grandsons learning that marriage means tolerating someone rather than loving them. I didn't want that to be my legacy. The divorce took a year. Richard fought me on everything out of spite. But in the end, at 75 years old, I walked out of that courthouse a free woman. I moved into a small apartment, 1 bedroom, full of light, decorated exactly how I wanted it. I joined a book club. I started taking painting classes. I adopted a cat. I traveled to places I'd always wanted to see. Italy, Greece, Ireland. And you know what I discovered? Joy. Real, genuine joy. I discovered what it felt like to wake up without dread, to make decisions without criticism, to exist without feeling like a burden. I made new friends, real friends who liked me for me, not because I was someone's wife. I even started dating. At 77, I met a man named James at an art gallery. He's 80, a widower, kind, funny, actually interested in what I have to say. We have coffee together. We go to museums. He holds my hand. He tells me I'm beautiful. He treats me like I matter. It's not a grand romance. We're too old for that kind of drama, but it's companionship, real companionship. The kind I never had in 50 years of marriage. I'm 80 now. I've been divorced for 5 years, and these 5 years have been more fulfilling than the entire 5 decades I spent married to Richard. But here's what breaks my heart. I'm 80. I probably have, another 10 years if I'm lucky, maybe 15, and I spent 50 years of my one precious life in a marriage that made me miserable. I should have left at 45, at 50, at 55. Every year I stayed was a year I can never get back. A year of joy I sacrificed for what? For security, for appearances, for the kids. My kids are fine. They're adults now, living their own lives. It would have been fine if I left 30 years ago too. So let me tell you what I wish someone had told me when I was 40, when I was 50, when I was 60. Staying in a marriage that makes you unhappy doesn't make you noble. It makes you a martyr to nothing. You get no prize for enduring something that's killing your spirit. No one's going to give you a medal for staying when you should have left. If you're in a marriage where you feel invisible, where you're criticized constantly, where there's no warmth, no respect, no partnership, you don't have to stay. You don't have to wait until the kids are grown. You don't have to wait until retirement. You don't have to wait until you're too old to build a new life. Leave now. Leave while you still have years ahead of you. Leave while you still have energy and health and time to discover who you are outside of that relationship. People will judge you. They will. They'll say you're selfish. They'll say you're giving up too easily. They'll say marriage is hard work. And yes, marriage is work, but it shouldn't be torture. It shouldn't make you feel worthless. It shouldn't steal your joy. You deserve more than just existing next to someone. You deserve actual love, actual partnership. Or if not that, at least peace and autonomy on your own. I look at my life now and I'm happy, really happy. But I also look at all those years I wasted and I'm angry. I'm angry that I was taught to stay, that I believed my duty was to endure, that I thought leaving would be selfish. Leaving Richard was not selfish. Staying would have been, because I would have spent my final years bitter and resentful, and that bitterness would have poisoned every relationship I had. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait until you're 75 to choose yourself. Don't waste decades of your one beautiful life on someone who doesn't cherish you. Life is so short. Even when you live to be 80, it's still so short. Choose yourself. Choose joy. Choose freedom. Do it now, while you still have time to build something beautiful from the pieces. The permission you're waiting for, I'm giving it to you. Leave. Build a new life. Be happy. You deserve it. We all do.